Hello team. So I wanted to try a few experiments where I want to run some Claude Code Skills within a web server. So let's say I have created some skills, and by the way, I've created many skills, but I can always run it within Claude Code with my local environment. But I want to export them to, some server where maybe I can interact with it via some web API and want to invoke on that particular server. So how to do that? So while exploring, I came to know that, we have Claude Agents SDK, and Claude Agents SDK is a library which allows you to do that. Now, in our case, what we are going to explore today is we are going to create a fast API. Imagine that this fast API is created and deployed on some web environment, for example, let's say Azure Web App, and we are going to interact with it. So we are going to fire some queries, and behind the scenes, what it is going to do is using Agents SDK, it is going to invoke those Claude skills within the web server where this solution is deployed. So let's see how to get started. So here I am. This is my Visual Studio Code which is available. And what I'm trying to do is I'm running everything in my dev container. So if you see, I have a dev container which is installed. So I'm running everything on Docker as such. So that's what I'm trying to do. And what I have done is I have installed few libraries inside this dev container. So those who are new to dev container, this is a way I can run Linux within my Windows as such. And the way I need to do it is I need to ensure that there are some plugins which are available within Visual Studio Code. And here, if you see, what I've done is I've installed Fast API, Python.environment, as well as Claude Agent SDK. And Claude Agent SDK is the one which is going to provide the equivalent environment that we try to do it in within local. And it is going to make sure that, whenever it is deployed on some web application, it is going to invoke all the Claude skills. So that's how it will work. So for experiment, what I have done is just to show you, I have created some test file. And if you see this test file, what I'm trying to do is I'm just invoking Claude Agent SDK, and I'm just providing it a very simple prompt. So the prompt that I'm providing it is humanize following text. So what it is going to do is it is going to take this text and going to humanize it. And similarly, what we can do is we can create some skills. And again, I will just show you very quickly. I have created some skills here. Here are those skills which I created. So I have created two skills. One is my humanizer, and what it tries to do is it tries to humanize the text, as well as there is a humor creator which tries to create a humor like response. And the file which I was trying to show you, the file, it doesn't contain any skills. So what we are doing here is we are using Claude Agent SDK to invoke, and run Claude directly. That's what we are trying to do. Now, what we are going to do it in test script 02 is we are going to, rather than, giving a direct system prompt, we are going to invoke skills. That's the difference. So in test script 01, we have simple prompt, which is passed to Claude Agent SDK. And then in test script 02, we have created two skills. These are the two skills which are created. And what we are going to do is we are going to invoke Claude Agent SDK and tell it to use these skills. And these two skills is, my humanizer and my human creator. So rather than explicitly passing the whole system prompt, we are going to invoke these skills. And thirdly, the last thing what we have done is we have created a fast API. And via this fast API, we can have an endpoint where we can, invoke any sort of skills or a system prompt through Claude Agent SDK. So I can run, some text. I can specify whether a skill has to be invoked or not using this chat SDK. So that's what we are going to see today. So first few things. So we already installed, the appropriate libraries. Now we also have sample.environment, and here are all the environment variables that we need. So in the earlier video, we walked through how we can connect Claude through Bedrock, and that's what we are doing here. So we are specifying that rather than using the Claude models on the consumer version, we will be using the Bedrock version. So the models which are deployed on Claude on the Bedrock, that's what we are going to do. Now, if you see test script 01, here we are calling Claude Agent SDK. So what we are doing is we are, invoking one class, and we are passing the current directory. We are also giving it some configuration like project. So project is nothing but, from where it is going to read all the files or settings, for example, things like skills where it is going to read it. So that's what, it specifies. So, user specifies that it will be applicable to all the users within this machine. Project is only to this project. In this case, it doesn't matter. So, you can keep it by default, and allow tools are read, write, and bash, which means, the Claude Agent SDK has access to read, write, and bash, and that's what we are doing here. Nothing fancier. We are just passing it a text and just saying humanize it. So that's what we are trying to do. In the test script 02, which is more important, what we are doing is something similar. The only thing is, if you see, what we are doing is we are allowing it to have access to tools also. So what we are in a nutshell saying is, while you are running, please run through current directory. Within current directory, there will be a folder called .claude. Within that, there will be skills folder which is created, and use that skills folder. So essentially, it is going to load these two skills which I have, my humanizer and my humor creator. And then what I can do is I can run all of these. So that is what it is trying to do. So rather than directly putting any prompt, we are saying use this skill or this skill to convert some text. And this is what we have done in app.py also. So we have wrapped whatever we saw in the last file into some way to read all the skills and run it. So that's what we have. So if I run this, for example, I will just try to run this app.py, and we'll see the API endpoint. So if I go here, I have the API created. Let me try to invoke a chat interface. So what it gives you way to run it is, it gives you a way to have a post query created. So we'll post something as a prompt, and then it will give us the output. So let me do something. So within my sample 02 test script, let me say that, convert following text. So I will just, write it down, and then let me put some sample text. So I already have some sample text which is created. So let me take it from there. So let's say I create, or let me take it like from here. So I'm just saying, take this line, maybe humanize it. So let's see what the response comes. So behind the scene, Claude Agent SDK will read this, will invoke my humanizer, and convert this text into some better way. So let's see. And this is what I want to tell, that, with this, there is a possibility to make your skills, run it on a separate environment. That's really very helpful. So if you see, it says, humanized version and so on and so on. So it gives some text. and it was invoked using the skills which I created. So I will post this repos link in the YouTube description. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.